To order at 4 minutes after 2.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the countless blessings you've given us. Lord, we ask that you would put your hand over this meeting, lead and guide and direct us, and help us to make good decisions. More importantly, Lord, we ask that you would be honored here today and honored as we go throughout our lives. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Rex Jordan,
Here.
Leo Smith,
Here.
Bill Anglin,
Honey.
Keith Austin,
Here.
Carly Buzzard,
Here.
Joe Bird,
Honey.
Sean Crittenden,
Honey.
Mike Dobbins,
Here.
Kanan Duncan,
Honey.
Wanda Hatfield,
Honey.
Dick Lay,
Honey.
Mike Shambaugh,
Here.
Mary Bakershaw,
Honey.
Janice Taylor,
Here.
Victoria Vesquez,
Honey.
David Walkenstick, Brian Warner.
Honey.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from July the 15th.
Make a motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Management Resources, Mr. David Moore.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Y'all, I know I'd like to say thank you for y'all leaving. I'd like to say thank y'all for your service. It's a big part that y'all play for our people. We really appreciate it. I know y'all asked something about Dr. Jones about the generators, and they are on service agreements. They're on a quarterly maintenance. Once every 2 weeks, they exercise them and check them out. So, I mean, they are, and things will happen, but they are under a maintenance agreement. So, just want to throw that in there. Y'all have our report. I'll try to answer, and if I can't, I'll get you the answer.
Any questions for David?
Hi, David.
Hi.
David, I saw where the boiler chiller system was offline and each unit had to be manually reset.
Yeah, for about a week, we were having a lot of issues with it. We have a train. They came out last week and went through everything. We had some pumps that were down. So,
When that happened, what was the reason? I mean, did everybody do without air or what?
no, I mean, they had to manually restart them. They couldn't get on their iPads and make it come back. They had to go and do them. We had some storms roll through. We don't know if that's what it was, but that's about when we started having issues.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask you about Three Rivers. On Three Rivers on August the 9th, the computers went down and the phone lines too. Do we have backup generators?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened there?
Cannot tell you exactly why, or I guess the phone system must not be tied directly into the generators. I don't know how the phone system works. I know our generators, I was told they came on, but I can't tell you for sure.
What about the computers? Why would they be down?
I have no idea, because that's one thing that should always be on your computers. Now, your computers at your desktop may not come on, but the servers and all that should be fine. I mean, they're backed up. But most places, we don't have enough emergency backup power to run the whole facility. I know some of these later clinics were trying to get the whole thing on, but it takes a lot of power to run these things.
So, but as far as you're aware, we lost no information.
Not that I'm aware of, right?
How long did it take you to have them up and running, do you know?
I was told that they came back up like 30 minutes. Muskogee came back up, was off. So I'm not an IT person, but we try to see what's going on when things happen. So, but I think the biggest deal was everybody at their desk couldn't get on their computers because there was no power for everybody.
Thank you.
Any other questions for David? Sean.
Hey, Dave,
Yes,
haven't had an update on the buffalo lately. How many we got?
I think there was 26 babies, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 26 babies so far. I think we're about, we're at right now. I'd lie to you if I told you right now.
Like 100 altogether?
No, there's a little more than that. Altogether, I'd say we're closer to 150 in that area, with calves included.
What's the recent plans?
Well, we've taken back some land to increase our footprint that we're trying to raise these buffalo on. I'd like to grow it, grow the herd, and not just let it sit there. Try to make it big enough to where we can do something with it.
Just to look at, or do we get?
No, I'd like to do something with them, that's what I mean, where we
Do
could
something.
butcher them, something like that. Get enough that we could do that.
And again, this month's kind of tricky. We
Right.
got new people coming in next month, but it's an interesting deal. How many jobs are directly tied to the buffalo? Human jobs.
Human jobs, well, most of the time there's about 3 guys, give and take a little here and there, but they all do other things also. There's no like one person that's all they do is the buffalo. I'll be building fence, spraying,
Building a fence for the buffalo.
yeah, mainly, yeah, but they still can help out when we have fence problems at some of the leased land, so everybody's a ranch hand sometimes and equipment operator sometimes. They all they're very diversified. You know how it is around a farm. You gotta be jack of all trades.
One other question. We spoke about the hole in the building and the roof at the Lonaghy. Did that ever get addressed?
Not yet. I told them they have a nice shop. Told them use it. They were told they couldn't use it, So I said, use it, guys. Work on it there. We have plans. We're gonna try to bid out and actually build them a new shop building and tie
Are
it
they
to.
still working in the?
They're not supposed to be. I told them stay out of it, but now they may put some equipment in there and stuff.
Okay, so
But
they're
I
not
told them to
they're
work.
not working in it.
I don't think they are. I've told them to work
Who's the
up there.
boss?
I told them to work up there. Now, I can't tell you if they are or not, but, that's all I can do. I can't go down there and hold their hand. They're grown men, and
Well, they do. The ones I've spoke to have a big, big heart for the
yes, they
Cherokee
do.
people.
Big time. They really,
so-
really do. And they like helping when they can.
They're supposed to not be working in there. They're
I hope
supposed
they're
to be
not.
working in there.
But we're trying to get one built on and tie it to the shop building that they have right there. And the money we would spend trying to fix that one up, we could build one for about, or close. That was in pretty rough shape.
But let me reiterate that them boys have bailed me out when
Good,
it comes to
good deal.
Cherokee
They're good
people's
guys.
and
They are.
so. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for
I have a
David?
comment.
Go right ahead.
We have, our, I guess, secretary, Sarah Hill's been moved to another position, and congratulations, but, we're talking about the herd here, 100, what do we have now total?
Well, that's what I was saying. Around 150. I don't want to tell you a number that I'm not positive of right now, but it's close to that total.
We
As
need
long.
we need to do something in phases where, the Quapaw tribe, the way they're doing things, and it doesn't have to be a full-blown, but, EO gave us a tour of aquaponics there around Bayonne. And as we were touring, there had a little freezer there, and they opened it up, and they had bison meat in there, and it had Quapaw tribe in our backyard.
Exactly.
We're the
They have-
largest and supposed to be the one of the most sophisticated, and we're looking at this pretty herd we have out there, and we could put that in the Elders program or Head Start program or somewhere in there and utilize that. It's some of the healthiest meat.
Oh, yes.
But instead, we'll serve unhealthy meat to our people
Right.
out in the communities.
Well, that's our goal, is to grow it so we can get there.
Let's grow that and see if we can't start utilizing that herd. I wouldn't mind if we only had 10 out there if everybody was eating healthy. But we don't want to just look at them.
No, I totally agree, but that's where that was kind of where we were at with them. It's hard to make a plan until
Yeah.
we get kind of I don't know how to say the right terms, but, we've
I
been
guess if we were going to make a
unstable.
movie, we could go back out there and stand around, take photos, but I don't
No, our
think we are.
plan, our plan's to grow it, to get to a point that we can, maybe go, and we've been working with the Quapaw tribe.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, I'm a beef producer, so all beef is healthy, as far as I'm concerned. I have to throw that out there a little bit. What are we wiping the floor up here for, Dave? By the way,
Somebody knocked a bucket of water over.
where'd the bucket of water come from?
I can't tell you where that bucket of water came
It
from.
wasn't leaking out of the ceiling, was it?
Not there. They had one in there. I don't know if they got it fixed yet, but that was a train issue also. One of the chillers was leaking.
Train like air
Train,
conditioner?
yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah. It's hard to get them down here in a day's notice. They usually have to schedule people to get down here. Our guys can do a lot, but there's some things that they can't do. And then also, we don't want to avoid warranties
Okay. And so where are the train people coming in from?
from Tulsa.
And so how much of a herd would it take in size to be self-sufficient with stuff?
I can't answer that right now. I got a guy, he's working on a business plan. We're trying to get to where we can know how many of these calves we can keep. We don't want to we got to get some outside bloodline in this, and we haven't, and we need to. So we're selling some of the calves, and then we'll keep some, and then we're trying to get new bulls in to grow the herd. I mean, probably 200 to 300. I think you could probably get some meat. I don't know if you can get enough to keep everybody happy, but I think that'd be a good starting point.
Would 500 to 800?
That would be a whole lot better.
That's what I'm guessing.
And our plan was, we've doubled the land that they were on. We're in the process of building a fence right now. And the land we've taken back, there's another 1,000+ acres in that same that I hope to eventually take back to and then fence off and grow the herd into that area.
And so are we high-centered? We don't know which
No,
way to jump, or what?
we're trying to move forward. We're building the fence right now for that first 270-something acres that we've taken back. We're moving forward.
Well, the number of acres to run a 500 buffalo herd, how much would that be? Do you have any guess?
You're gonna have about 3 to 4 acres per buffalo. So it's gonna take quite a bit.
Where I'm at, we run 10 acres per cow and calf.
We feed these a
Different
lot.
breeds,
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit. But, so if I allow, let's say, 6 to 8 per buffalo, you're gonna have to take back a lot of land.
Mm-hmm. And that's a slow process also.
So, did we know what we were doing when we got into it?
Cannot answer that for you. I wasn't involved with that part of
Wasn't
it.
there.
I inherited it. I'm gonna try to grow and move forward with it.
And it's okay, I'll get off that.
No, that's all right. I mean, it's a neat program. I mean, it really is. It's pretty neat.
But it's gonna take a lot more buffalo than
Yep.
cows than we've got.
Yeah.
Take several times what we've got. Agreed?
To maintain a herd, I mean, and utilize it for commercial type meat and
Or just
maintain
for
a
us,
herd.
Or just for us. And
Exactly, that's what I mean, just for
I don't know
us.
if we can do that because there are all kinds of laws and standards about,
Butcher.
process.
Yep, yep.
that I think y'all have already run into.
They have, and the Quapaws do have a facility, and that's what we're looking at, kind of trying to
It has
start.
be a licensed facility for buffalo, not just,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
So I think it's going to be a slow process, but I'm excited. I mean, like I said, we've already doubled the land. We just got to finish the fence. And, but I'm excited about it. I know it's going to take a while, but we'll get there with it.
Will you be retired by the time it's
I hope
ready
not.
to go?
I hope not. I don't like to do things that slow.
The Berry property, is that?
Yes, sir.
Cleanup, is that out here at the golf course? Did we have something left?
No,
up
no,
there?
sir. Across the highway, there's a house over there.
And so we own the house,
Yes, sir, and the land.
we own the land,
Yes,
right across the highway.
yes, sir. Behind that little strip center there, that's right there.
And so we're cleaning that up.
Yes, sir.
Rehabbing it totally, or
Bringing it, trying to get it up as close as we can.
complete remodel.
Yes, sir.
You know what the cost of that's gonna be?
We're still trying to get quotes on a lot of things. We've been moving pretty fast on it. We're working with all of our taro vendors. We're putting a lot of security Still have a lot of, security type things we're working on right now still. IT and the Marshal Service. We don't, at this time, we do not have the exact amount yet. I mean, it's a moving target right now because we're moving so fast on it, trying to get it done.
Still in talks about what you need up there.
Yeah, yeah. We've got the basics, and then we're trying to build off of that. You know, plumbing, wiring, security, exterior wise. Cleanup was a big one at first.
What budget is,
We have a MOU that's been drawn up between CMB and Cherokee Nation.
CMB on the property or?
We own it, but okay, yes, we own it.
So CMB has an MOU to rehab it?
To fund it, to fund the rehab.
Or whatever we're
Yeah.
calling it. And so the MOU didn't mention an amount?
I can't tell you, I haven't been in on that, on the MOU. I've just been doing the work fast as we can.
Okay, good. And thank you, David.
Thank you.
Leo?
Back on the Buffalo, on this grazing land, that's not the best grazing land for buffalo, really, up there in a lot of rocks. We have a lot better grazing land around in the nation, right? We were going to expand.
Well, we have the facilities there already established, the working pens and stuff. They're hard animals to move. You stress them, you lose them. So we need to try to stay close to our working pens there. I mean, that's my thought.
I've seen some figures on that. They're making some money off that buffalo. And you're not telling me that if we would take buffalo and put an attractive package and all of our travel plazas and put Cherokee buffalo meat, it would be rolling out the door. And we could sell it faster than we
Might
could
be able
produce
to.
it.
Might be able to.
And on this committee, if you need somebody from the council to volunteer to be on it, I'd gladly serve on that to try to help.
That'd be awesome. When
In
we
fact,
get,
I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
If
We'll
you
try
have a
to get
meeting, call me and
something going.
I'll come to it.
yeah, we'll try to get something going because, I mean, the more input, the better off we are. I mean, I see us taking care of us first as far as like maybe our, like you were talking about the elders, and grow to that point to where we can put it in travel plazas and different things. But it is good meat, and I can't see a problem with. I know for years people crossed them with beef, and I've had that, and that's pretty good beef too. So yes, it's a good. I think it'll be a good program for us. It has been on High Center, but we're off of it. I asked Chief if I could take back 270-something acres. He said, why? And I told him why we needed them. He said, go for it. So that's what we're doing. And when we get this business plan kind of drawn up and presented to administration and stuff, maybe we can get us a committee and move forward with it.
Holler at me.
I will.
Ryan?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rick. David, I just want to say thank you and Todd Enlow, and I believe it was Taylor that went down to Moffett early on with you and everything, and assisted with the dumpsters, cleanup, stuff like that. It's been going good. I talked to Mr. Greg Reynolds. He's the standing superintendent right now while they're waiting to get another one at the school. They've been pretty well handled there, but the people in the town needed some help. Thank you guys for stepping in. Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate the ability
And
to.
it was, it was good. I know there's, I'd had a few calls asking us why hadn't we done anything, but we're all about doing stuff
Yes.
down around in my area, not necessarily, we didn't need a photo op of us cleaning up. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate it
Thank you.
very much. The guys, like you said, the guys love to be
Yep.
able to help.
Yep.
And they really, y'all would be impressed if y'all got to
Well,
watch them. They go
I
above
do.
and beyond.
Yeah,
mean,
I
they
do want
really-
everybody here to know, though, that you guys answered the call and went above and beyond.
I will pass that along to the
Absolutely.
guys because
Thank
they are, it was them. We just
Yep.
coordinate.
That's right.
You turn them boys loose. And literally, not so good. We got to keep moving here. They would try to, they take pride in what they do.
Yep.
So, thank you. And I'll let them know.
Any other questions for David? Harley?
David, I hate to harp on this again, but I want to know, have we made any movement on the pine trees?
I was trying to get an update from Pat Gwynn on the next step since I can't remember what tribe it was. Came back and said we had to do the full-blown environmentals.
So Pat Gwynn is handling
Well,
that?
that's who I'm working with because that's his that type of stuff's his expertise. And he
Okay,
was out.
Can I ask you or ask somebody to have Pat Gwynn to give us a report on it? This has been going on for 10 years that I know of. I've only got 2 more years left on the council, and I'd like to see something done before I
We
get
don't
off
have
the
that
council.
long before we're supposed to have something done. But we met with the USDA and BIA and several of us here, Sarah Hill and her people and Pat Gwynn. And we got an extension basically because of the environmental stuff.
Okay.
And we tried to, USDA and the BIA tried to, say, we're gonna do this. Do you have any objections? And they objected.
And I know it. I know how it is to work
It's
with,
frustrating. It
with the
is.
Bureau on the controlled burns. I know how those burns work. And
I think
I know
once-
I've dealt with the BIA before, and it's hard to get anything going, but I think we just need to keep after them, keep after them, because those pines are not doing us any good,
No.
just standing there.
I think once we get started, I think things will keep moving. I really do. Because they acted like, once we got in there and got it going, that we could just keep moving, so.
And even if Pat would like to come sit down with you and do a report to us, that'd be good, because I think everybody would like to hear it. Now, back to the Berry property, I'm glad for the report, because I've had a lot of people asking about it, but I guess I'd like to know the overall budget of that thing when we can get it.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have that right now.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
Just quick follow-up, and Dave, I appreciate you and your guys helping down there at Moffett, was it?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
And Weber's, they went to Weber's.
Yeah. And of course, nobody would be against anybody helping. That's what we're about, helping people.
Yes, sir.
Helping people. I got schooled one day in here, though, about going not on Cherokee land. So what's the policy or how did you make that work? Because we might want to use that in the future.
It was a disaster, and that's what we were working off of with emergency management.
Okay.
So I can't answer,
Right. And like I said, I'm not taking away from what you did.
Yes, no.
I love it. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for, is helping. But, emergency is a relative term,
Well, it was a
and
federal disaster.
Right, well,
I mean, it was a declared one, so.
right.
I
So,
don't-
but
yeah.
that's how you got around that.
And the other thing that we did is we didn't actually enter their homes and do
Right.
work in their physical properties. What
Stayed
happened
on the
was
street.
volunteers came in, did the muck out, basically. They
Right.
cleared all the debris out and they stacked it on the right of way. And then our crews went in and simply picked up that debris that was on the right of way and put it on the dumpsters.
You betcha.
That's what,
That was
under
our
FEMA guidelines, that's what
best.
we're able to declare under public assistance, because we can pull that without actually physically going into the individual's home.
Cherokee Nation equipment and all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But again,
And we get reimbursed for that.
betcha, but again, thank you for doing that.
Now, it wasn't me, it was the guys, and I'll pass that on, but it was, we went down and evaluated what we could do best with our money, and they have volunteers. They were mucking, I mean, it was amazing, but they couldn't get back in and do any work on these houses, because they were just, you couldn't get to them. They were all piled up at the street, it's like a wall built. And that's what we did, we went in and it was good. I mean, the guys got after it. And you know them, I mean, they love to help when they can, they really do.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
I left out one thing, while you talk about the buffalo's hard to deal. I can take you in District 5 different spots where people have buffalo just in old barbed wire fences and everything, so,
We look at liability a little more than they do probably. Also.
but
Yeah. As long as they got room to roam, it's not too bad, but when you go corner one up, that's a different story.
Yeah.
They don't like to be confined, and that's what we were trying to do too, is give them the land to roam on, because they are roaming creatures, and so we're working on it, and we won't quit, I can promise you that.
Any other questions? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Real Estate Services, Ginger Brown Reeves.
Good afternoon. I want to echo David's sentiments. We have enjoyed working with all of you. Those that are leaving us, we've enjoyed working with you and we'll miss you. You have my report. If there's any questions you have, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions for Ginger? Yes, Sean.
All right. Hey, Ginger, on our land that we lease, does that have Cherokee preference?
Like for agriculture leases?
Well, just the, people, yeah.
Yes.
People can lease the
yes.
land, the airport thing and.
Yeah, we generally do, and then when we put a piece of property out for bid, we do state on that bidding packet that it's Cherokee preference, yes.
So, like, how does that work? Like, so non-Cherokees or non-natives can bid, right?
They can, yes.
So how do you know if, well, you see those bids, let's say a non-Cherokee underbids a Cherokee. How do you do that?
Well, generally, that Cherokee is going to, if they underbid,
Yeah,
we'll have to take it.
non-native.
We'll have to take it into consideration, like if they were a lessee previous to that time and they paid late, or we look at all the variables before we decide. But generally, we're gonna have a Cherokee leasing our property if we can. We do our best to do that.
Okay, so I'm a slow soaker. You got the bids coming in. Non-Cherokee or non-native underbids the Cherokee. So you look at those two, even though this one was higher than the non-Cherokee.
Are you talking about like if the Cherokee bids higher than a non-Cherokee?
Yep.
The highest bid is what gets it. The highest and best bid is what's on our lease. If I think what maybe Ginger misunderstood, like I just did until you said it the second time. If we lease out a piece of property, we have 10 bids come in. 8 are from Cherokees, 2 are from non-Cherokees. If the 2 non-Cherokees bid $12,000 and the Cherokee bid $6,000, we're probably going to lease it out to the non-Cherokee. If the Cherokee comes in and bids $10,000, non-Cherokee bids $10,000, by policy, it goes to the Cherokee. That's where our Cherokee preference comes in. Or, as Ginger said, if they tie, it would go to the Cherokee preference. If she talked about sometimes there's different leases that happen. We have people that come in that are really good lessees, and in the past, this doesn't happen anymore, but in the past, they would do a 10% thing where you could rebid it if you were within 10%, if you could keep the bid. But now we just use Cherokee preference, unless the lease is turned back, and then we offer it to a person that's bid was within 10%. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. And now is all of this Cherokee Nation policy on that?
Policy and procedure?
It's
Well,
not a
I
written
mean-
policy, it's a policy within our office, yes.
So it's something that,
Yeah.
I've had some people contact me and said, why can't a Cherokee lease that land? Well, they didn't bid right?
They had the opportunity.
So, now this is not anything, but if a guy wanted to look at those, it would just be something to bring to this table, right, about those policies.
Sure.
Just far-fetched thing. Hey, this bid's for Cherokees, for Cherokee land. If somebody ever wanted to change something like that, it comes here, right?
We'll take it to administration first. It's our office policy. We'd take it through administration, and if they saw fit to do that, we would bring it to you all.
And if they didn't see fit, what would be the process?
Well, we work very well with you guys. I mean,
Right, and
we'd be happy to.
I've
we'd
been
be
curious
happy to
about this
look
for a
at
long
it.
time, right?
We'd be happy to look at any avenues that we wanted to go if we wanted to change some of our policies.
Now, how is it advertised? That's ignorance on my part. I really never looked. But
Through the
how-
newspaper.
Just the newspaper?
We have it through the newspaper, online, on our Cherokee website. We also have a whole list throughout the year. We accumulate a list of people who,
Mailed
if
out.
they,
Mail
yeah, and they're
outs.
mailed out.
And we also place flyers at local sale barns.
Now, we're
people that-
talking about ag leases.
if you're
If
talking
you're
about
talking
ag,
about anything else,
Yeah,
it's done somewhat different.
Mention some of those, anything else's.
A lot of times we work with Diane Kelly. If she sees fit to, or if she finds someone that's interested in a piece of property for a business lease, then we have our discussion with her and administration and whoever else they bring in there. And they come to us to say, hey, you know, this person is thinking that this might be a good deal to have this particular business on this piece of property. Is it leased? And then that's when
Oh,
we
that's
get
like,
involved.
that's kind of like the airport deal, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right.
And
Thank you.
it's all about economic development, you know, with her, and so we try to help her out as much, or help the economic development portion out as much as possible on our property that's leased.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Do people just lease wooded areas as far as, I mean, you know, you're not talking about bale and hay or anything, I mean, just like for hunting or anything like that? Do people
Yes.
lease
Uh-huh.
those?
Mainly, those are on restricted pieces of property, yes, sir. Mhm. We have
So-
lots of hunting leases.
When do those come back up?
It's on a sporadic basis. You might find a piece of restricted property out there and call us, say, hey, you know, is this family, is this estate interested in, and maybe doing a hunting lease with us? And we could talk to the people that we can get in contact with and work through the BIA and get that hunting lease procured.
So if there's some land, I've got a couple of phone calls from different people that there's some land that has been like traditional Cherokee Nation land, there's things that have been on it in the past, 400 to 500 acres. Are we looking to buy anything like that? If I was to give you that information, is that something you would look at, or?
On a weekly basis, I have people bringing information to me, and so we vet it out and, you know, send it on up the chain. And if there's a department that needs it or has a purpose for it, you know, it's looked
So
at
basically,
more
it's been
seriously.
this family for generations and generations,
Uh-huh.
and they were wanting to sell to the Cherokee Nation, like 400 or 500 acres. It's mainly wooded.
You could give them my email or my phone number, and I'd be happy to discuss it with them.
Okay.
What we would do is do some comps on it, see what it's worth, and go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. Appreciate it. Y'all done good.
Thank you.
Environmental programs, Mr. Tom Elkins.
Good afternoon. I think you have a copy of the report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, or try to, as David said. We'd like to point out, it's not on the report, but you all know the Cherokee Nation holiday is coming up, and I say this every year. I get to work in about the best, I think it's the best part of the holiday, and that's the fishing derby. It'll be Saturday over at the pond. And, I mean, what's cool about it, all these little kids get a free fishing pole, they get free other things, there's snacks, there's things like that. I mean, kids just don't get to go do that, and it's really good to see. I mean, I got grandkids that come out there, and so I enjoy it, and I think most of the kids that get out there. And what amazes me, I think I've done that 6, 8, 10 years, I forget, but those kids are shoulder to shoulder sometimes, and I've never seen a hook in a kid's ear. I've tried to put them in, but they're just, it's amazing. I remind them over and over, be careful where you're tossing that bait, because it's real easy to hurt somebody. But if you have any questions, be happy to answer those.
Any questions for Tom?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Tom, I am delighted to see that you all sampled all the water, under the Clean Water Program. Have you gotten those results back?
For which part?
Well, let's see, we can start, I highlighted the ones at Saline Creek,
Oh,
Saginaw Creek,
absolutely.
Salissaw
I mean, those are on a recurring basis, and all that data is put up on the Cherokee Nation. Then it also goes to a federal database, just like the state does, and so it goes to an EPA database.
I'm just so glad that we're testing all the water.
Well, yes, ma'am.
Everything is normal, I mean,
Well, there's always issues.
but we are addressing those issues.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess my question is, are you seeing anything in the creeks, ponds, whatever, with the chicken pollution?
There's nutrients in a lot of the streams that we test, excessive nutrients. And can we point our finger at chicken houses? Yeah, somewhat. But whenever there's development along these rivers, people living there, the things that put those nutrients in the water are from all types of animals, and us being animals, we do that too. And so cattle, horses, chickens, dogs, cats, people, we all contribute to that.
Well, I was just thinking of a chicken house with 30,000 chickens.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have-
absolutely. Absolutely it does.
So, well, I'm glad we're monitoring.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ray. Yes, Tom, I got to thinking, how hard do you think it would be to empower our people, to get them educated, get them trained, to look at some of these water testing and stuff like that? That way they could go out and help collect data and help educate themselves. And of course, there's going to be little pods where, hey, this is my area, this is where I, have some concern and stuff like that. Then they can start working with one another and stuff. I mean, how hard do you think an effort like that would be?
It depends on what the use of that data is. If it's just screening data, there's already programs for that. They're called Blue Thumb, things where the schools work with them and they try to get kids and citizenry science.
Right.
And those things exist. Now, for things that has to be defensible, legally defensible, that takes a much higher level of data quality. And so it also takes, for it to go into our federal databases that we work with EPA, it has to have a level of quality assurance to that, and those have to have what we call QAPs, quality assurance project plans, and it's pretty intense.
Right. Well, and
But to get people to get that screening and an understanding of that,
I think that would be a great start. And I don't know how far they go in Alabama, but there's a group called the Alabama Water Watchers. And the reason they're there is because they're probably #2 in the United States poultry industry.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how far, but a lot of that stuff they do, it helps to arm the citizens with stuff. But, I don't want them just going out and doing stuff that, when you collect that data, like you said, defensible data and stuff like that's very important. And I know the training level, you probably couldn't get everybody trained up to that level, but, I think it would be something possible.
I think it's a good idea for everybody to have an idea of what people look for in that, scientists look for. And then, whether they can go out there and actually get data that goes into that database or not, at least they have an idea of what goes into it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think those are great ideas.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tom? Yes, ma'am.
A real important question. Where is your fishing pond on the?
It's right
during the
over, do
holiday?
you know where the old council house was? Where the election,
Yes,
okay, right behind it.
behind,
Yeah,
back.
just on
okay,
the
it's
other side of the
it's on
garden.
Cherokee Nation ground.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yes, ma'am, it's right on this campus. It's-
Oh,
Yeah, on
it is.
this
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how many acres it is, but,
Help out, show up.
yeah. Well, I know the kids always
I wanna
enjoy
bring my
people
grandkids.
coming by, and if you have time, it's from 9 to 11 now, so we're only doing it a couple hours, but kids are free to stay afterwards, and,
Oh, it's just for a couple of hours on Saturday? Like
it
on
is,
Saturday?
yes, ma'am,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Harley?
Tom, what about the landfill? The landfill construction, is it about complete?
We're getting there, sir. I'm glad you asked. When you build that cell, you put back in 2 feet of recompacted clay, and that clay is just about done. They're trying to schedule there's a whole different crew that comes in that does the synthetic liner that goes on top of that, and they're trying to schedule them in. It's kind of a dance between the weather and the clay getting done, they have to test it for permeability and all this stuff before they get it done. So we don't want to get them there too early. We don't want to get them where we're waiting on them either. So we're coming down to the wire on it.
So, I wonder how much time is left on the existing landfill?
Well, we talk about that, or I talk to the landfill guys probably every day I'm out there. And that's between usually 2 and once in a while it's 1 day a week, but like this week it'll probably be twice, 2 to 3 times a week. We're having to be creative about where they put trash. We just have to, because we need that new cell. And it's been on the books for a little while, so they're all chomping at the bit to get trash ready to put in there. But there is a little bit of a buffer. It's not like there's trash falling in the creek or anything like that. And they're keeping it really, really nice, man. It's doing a lot better.
Thanks, sir.
John?
Tom, we've discussed this before about the landfill, about there being an 8 to 10 year plan.
We're working on that. We've done, 2 years ago, we did a grant through the Administration of Native Americans. It's through DHHS. And we put in a grant to get not just a long-term plan, but or a closure plan. Ideally, when you do a landfill, when you put one together, you have a closure plan written up before you put one piece of trash in there. And that's what we're looking about doing, is looking, we have a total, they call it the Cherokee plan, because that was the contractors that originally did the plan for the landfill. But that's just what it might look like when it's completely done, if it was taken completely to fruition. But things change over the years. But our plans haven't updated well enough with that. So we're looking at getting a master plan built for that. Part of that will be a closure plan. And that will just instruct people, we all know, you put trash here and you want it done a certain way, but where's the best place? We want to know how much clay do we have left at certain places? How far, just moving it another quarter mile, clay can cost tens of thousands of dollars, close to 100 maybe on that one cell. So we need to know the resources that we have, the resources that we don't have, where we would put that, where we would store some of those things so that we can get to it easy, just a planning document. And so we're trying to get that. We re-upped that grant this year. I don't know if we'll get it. They're very, very competitive. But if we do, we'd like to put that together.
Have we been putting money back for this? I mean, it's gonna happen one day, right?
Oh, it has to. And yes, there is a closure fund on that, and a certain percentage of every ton of trash that goes in there, money goes into that closure fund. And every year, excuse me, the engineer on record has to do a closure fund analysis to show that, well, the life of the landfill could be such, what you have in the closure plan is this much. If you take that lifespan out to here, there'll be enough to close that. And they have to certify that.
And just real quick, there's a plant in Watts, Oklahoma, there, and it's a recycling plant, and
Is that the one that does like the deck boards and things?
plastic,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hear they're going out of business.
Oh, is that right?
And I visited with someone from C&B, just kind of give them a heads up if that's something they wanted to look into. And,
Right.
Kind of a crazy thing. Might work hand in hand together with all the trash that we get through there.
Well, it's always a good thing to look at recycling. And the thing of it is the market waxes and wanes. And so at times, there's, you can recycle. And at times it was money making to do plastics. And it's not very much anymore. That's not to say that it won't be, or that we couldn't incentivize our folks to do it, whether it's profitable or not. A business has to make a barrel of money. A business that is just, even if it breaks even and provides jobs,
I like that
sometimes
idea.
it's
I
a
like
good
that
thing.
a lot.
I mean, that's my opinion, it's not.
Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Tom? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Good. Secretary of Natural Resources, Sarah Hill.
Good afternoon. So it's interesting that you guys want to talk about bison today, because one of the things that I did in the last month since I saw you last was visit Quapaw and visit and tour their facility that they have there. It's a really impressive facility. They obviously, spent a lot of money on it, and it will take bison processing, and they have a on-site inspector, so that is meat that you can have processed and then sell to the public because it's been inspected in the way that it has to be. So, and they do bison and a lot of other different types of animals there. So they, the real issue would be transporting them. Bison, are not the most warm and fuzzy kind of creatures, and getting them to a point where they can be transported safely, where they're used to the idea, they know what to do. Getting them transported there would be the tricky part, and I don't know that we have the equipment right now to do that. This is one of the challenges that we would have to deal with. Obviously, David's group has been working on a business plan, and that's great to hear, and I think we have some options to do processing when we come to that point. So I was just very impressed by that facility. They have a large staff, and obviously they're prepared and ready to take more animals than they've even got right now. So they're not at full capacity yet. So that was I learned a lot on that visit with them, and Chad Harsha came with me to that visit, so he got a chance to look at it as well. We also, in the last month since I saw you, visited EPA Region 6 in Dallas and talked to Charles McGuire. He's the head of the director of the Office of Water in Region 6. Talked to him a little bit about the Illinois River agreement between Arkansas and Oklahoma, where they're talking about what they can do now that they've agreed on a number, that this .037 is the right number for how much phosphorus should be allowed in the Illinois River, how we're going to get to that point, because we know at the state line, the water coming from Arkansas is typically violating that .037 standard. And interstate disputes generally involve the EPA. That's part of their job, is to sort of mediate these interstate disputes between Oklahoma and Arkansas. In this case, Oklahoma and Arkansas are having their own discussions, and we're having discussions with them about what the long-term solution is when you've got so much growth in Northwest Arkansas. There are wastewater treatment plants. Just the volume of water created by those plants is pretty significant, and that area still wants to grow. And so making sure that there's enough capacity on the Oklahoma side of the line so that our communities also have room to grow, because Tahlequah, for instance, is in the middle of creating and putting together a wastewater treatment plant of their own, upgrading our existing plant. So there's a lot of different issues. Some of them involve the point source polluters, which are people that discharge directly into the Illinois, like the wastewater treatment plants. The other side of that is the non-point source polluters, which is people like hay meadows where there have been chicken litters been placed down on the field, or septic tanks in the community, or lots of the other places where nutrients and pollution get into the river, and how to deal with those issues when there's not a good regulatory structure for that, are some of the discussions that we had with them. So that was a good discussion, and one that we needed to have. I also found out today that there's a new director for the EPA's American Indian and Environmental Office. They call it AIEO office, and his name is W. Scott Mason. He is a Cherokee citizen, and he is from the western part of the state, though, and went to school at the University of Oklahoma. So I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, but they just got a new director today, and that's the main EPA Washington, D.C. office that handles Indian affairs. So they have not had a director in several years. They've had an interim director, so it'll be good to have a new director in that office. Also in the last month, we had a meeting with, which I was not there at the meeting, but Chad was, at the restoring the Ozark Materials site on Saline Creek. You guys may have read in the paper that Cherokee Nation was appointed a trustee by federal court over this particular site where this gravel mine has been operating, and it's been damaging to the creek. They did a lot of mining that wasn't done with the correct permit, so they are required by law to go in and do restoration, and Cherokee Nation is overseeing that. So we've been in the process of meeting with the different parties in that to be sure that that restoration stays on track, and we'll have to report back to the federal judge about the work, that the restoration, how it's proceeding. So we've been working on that as well. And as Tom mentioned, the landfill cell construction is back on track. Some sunny weather has helped a lot. We just had a lot of rain this summer, so it's been good to get some decent weather to get some work done there, because we need that cell open just as quickly as we can get it open. The other thing that was different this month was there was an EPC meeting, which the EPC meets every month, but this time they had a longer meeting to talk about planning, and I passed along, Speaker, your request for an update from the EPC about the status of the water. And so I talked to the chair of the committee, and he indicated that he would like to do that. So they're going to get with you when they have their report ready. They're going to get with you to find a time to come in and do that. I think the last time we did that, maybe we were at a different location. It seems like maybe we were at the casino or someplace the last time we had a big report on the water. But I'll have him get with you to get that report done. But they were happy to receive the request, and they talked a lot about just their planning of the Environmental Protection Commission. I think they're thinking about maybe changing the way that they do their meetings a little bit, focusing more on specific issues, like having reports at one meeting every quarter, and the rest of that time focusing more on specific environmental issues so that they can do a little bit deeper dive into some of the things that they are concerned about. So I think that's a good change. I'm just glad to see the commission taking the incentive to talk about how to make their own work more effective. So if any of you have thoughts in that regard, I'm sure they'd be interested in them. And the other thing that happened was we got $634,000 from the state to reimburse the nation for its Sequoia Fuels payment. So we were able to go back and reclaim most of the money that the tribe paid out. If we hadn't been here, and if the tribal council hadn't been willing to put that money on the line to get that cleaned up, it would not have been cleaned up. But after that, the state was able to work with a trust that had money set aside for this purpose and was able to get some of that money paid back to us. So that's a win-win. That's us sort of stepping in there when the state was not able to do what needed to be done. And then them also being good partners on the back end to work with us to help us reclaim some of that money from a source of money that they had access to. So I think it's been a good partnership all the way around. It's especially good when you can get $600,000 back to do other good work at the Cherokee Nation. I think that's the bulk of my report for this month. And as you know, this is a transition time at Cherokee Nation, so I've been working on a lot of different things at one time. And for those of you who are stepping off of the Tribal Council, it's been a pleasure to come here and report every month, and I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you.
Yes. Sarah, do we have a written or an understanding with GRDA on oversight of Illinois River?
We do not have anything written or even an unwritten policy on that oversight. Our engagement on the Illinois River has tended to be with the state environmental agencies, more so than GRDA, which is has more law enforcement duty. And since the Scenic Rivers Commission ended, they also, Ed Fight is still over there at the GRDA where he was at the Scenic Rivers Commission before, so I know that they have folks who do water quality work, and they probably actually have more money to put toward water quality work than they have in the past, but we don't have any kind of specific agreement with them to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Sarah.
I guess nothing new in the realm of the chicken.
Nothing new in the realm of the chicken. Which is not to say that we're not continuing to work on it, because we are continuing to work on it on a couple of different fronts. But I think we talked last month about there are efforts being made to try and find some way to help remediate the communities that have been most impacted. And there's also efforts being made to try to come up with a way to get back to where we were with the moratorium, to get where I think we need to be with this. So there are efforts going forth on both fronts, but I don't have anything really substantive to report today on that, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Quapaw facility, do you know how much they spent on that?
You know, they told me. And I don't recall. It was tens of millions of dollars, but I don't recall the exact amount. I'm sure I could find it and get it to you.
It's a bunch of money.
It's a bunch of money. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Sarah, have you and Chad been watching all the information that's been coming out about hemp?
Yes, sir.
Just watching it pretty closely. And can you share any of the conversations or the directions that your office sees it going someday?
I mean, I think a lot of it is still sort of sit and wait, unfortunately, because the way that they have it set up, although hemp, they have new rules that said that Indian tribes can grow hemp until there's actually a plan approved. You can't actually go out and grow hemp. So we still don't have the right legal framework in place to grow hemp legally on Indian country right now. So it's still not the free-for-all sort of you can't just go out and grow hemp. It's a highly regulated business, and right now there's no regulations that we can even use. So I think for all intents and purposes, it is still illegal to grow hemp until we have that plan in place that we can follow. And there's been a significant amount of foot dragging at the federal level to get that plan in place. Now, that's the question of can we grow it? The other question is it advisable to grow it, and is there a need or a business plan for it? I'm much less sure on that side about the advisability of it, and whether or not there's a way to turn that into a venture that Cherokee Nation should get engaged in, and what the risks of that might be. But I think right now it's not even possible to do that. So when we get that plan from the federal government, we say, okay, now we have a plan that we're capable of growing it now legally, then I think we need to have the discussion about, is it advisable that we do so, and what are the risks and what are the opportunities involved in that. But we are watching it very closely.
Chad, you watching it pretty close?
Chad watches everything closely at all times. It's just how he is.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I agree.
Any other questions for Sarah?
Watching it. All right.
Thank you.
Old business done, pending new business. Councilor Shaw, you will take that?
Yes, this is a resolution opposing a change to the federal regulations to allow non-Indians to possess and use eagle feathers for religious purposes. And I've got, be it resolved by the Cherokee Nation that the Council of the Cherokee Nation, in support of Cherokee Nation's efforts and official comment to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department hereby opposes the petition to change the federal regulations to allow non-Indians to possess and use eagle feathers for religious purposes and calls on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Department to deny that petition. I move for its passage.
Motion and a second? Yes.
I just want to say I definitely support this, but I do want to point out there's a spelling error in the title, religious.
It is.
But it looks good.
Thank you, King.
Any other comments?
Sponsor here. We addressed this at the NCAI level, and
Yes.
it's something that we're all on board with.
NCAI, the 5 tribes, and Intertribal, the Rosebud Sioux Tribe of South Dakota, the Ute Tribe. As a matter of fact, the Ute River Indian Tribal Council has done the same thing, and I think that as Cherokees, we lead the way, and I'd like to see the council support this. I move for its passage.
Can we be added as a sponsor?
Yes, please.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody, yeah.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. I need one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Motion second, all adjourned.
10 minutes.
3 minutes.